Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Ozcast.
Here we are. This is a very special edition of Best Teammates because we are live at Shifty Lizard. We have made it, so thank you very much for listening to this special edition. Andy Martin, how are you?
I'm very well. Excited to be down here finally. It's taken months.
Yeah, it's taken a very long time. Rosie Panetta, you've dressed as a marshmallow again, which is fantastic. It is winter. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm glad you said marshmallow.
Not what we said off air. Maddie Burgess, hello.
How you going?
Yeah, really good. Lee Stone, who looks after Shifty Lizard. Lee, thank you for having us, mate. It's been a long time coming, but it is great to be here on a beautiful evening here in South Australia. We wanted to make a special episode so you can tell us about the business, tell us about the history of Shifty Lizard, and also, you know, give people a bit more awareness to make the way down to Willunga if they are living north of Willunga. So tell us about yourself and tell us about how you got involved in this incredible business, mate.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming down here, guys. Like you said, it's been a little bit of a while, but we finally got there, so it's great to have you here. Shifty Lizard has been a bit of a brainchild of mine for a fair few years. I was a bit of a home brewer from an early age. I think my old man was sick of me drinking his West End drafts, so he sort of got me a Cooper's kit, and away I went. So it sort of led on to, I moved over to the UK back in 2006, and then when I got over there, I actually got into the beer industry. So kind of kept on home brewing. Ended up working for sort of the big breweries like CUK and CUB and Heineken and Foster's and doing all that stuff. So essentially I was a beer technician, which is everything it should be. It was testing bubbles, continuously making sure the beer was right. But we used to run around the UK kind of installing beer equipment into pubs and clubs and all that kind of stuff. So sort of my enthusiasm for beer just sort of excelled from that point. I did that for about 8.5 years, and then eventually I kind of came back. I ended up, doing what I needed to do over there. Well, essentially it was meant to be 2 years in the UK, and it turned out to be 8.5 years, so I didn't really go to plan. But then I got back to Australia and just sort of, went head first into starting a brewery. Started it back in 2016. We were legally selling beer to people.
It's a very sudden thing to do, to sell illegal things.
Well, I think my dad was glad that I sort of changed the shed into a brewery rather than some of the narcotics I was trying to do in there before.
It is also very southern of you to do that.
Yeah,
got rid of the pot, got the beer in,
I mean, look, I'm from the hub, so what do you expect?
Aberfoyle Park represent.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I guess that we can talk about the timeline, and the other guys will ask some questions as well. But the craft beer scene in Adelaide is growing at a rapid rate. I'm going to ask some pretty naive questions, okay? Because I'm a naive person. So the first thing I want to ask is beer in cans. It's made a resurgence. It is back. There's cans, there's bottles, but I feel now, after having a little bit to do with a friend of mine who used to work at Lion Nathan, and now he's doing some consulting with another brewery. The cans are a really important part about selling your beer because it's about what it looks like as fridge space as you go to a place which sells a lot of them. Is that something you pride yourself in?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we were doing bottles kind of beer right up until just recently. We sort of merged over the can, and it's a bit of a hard one. It's very expensive to sort of do canning and that, so it's a lot of investment, but we've finally got there. The bottles were letting in about 10% sort of oxygen over a course of a year, so it was oxidising the beer.
What does that do? What does that mean?
It loses flavour, essentially. Okay. Yeah, so the beer sort of, once the oxygen gets in there, it starts to kind of make it go off a little bit and lose that flavour, really, dulls it. Cans just hold that. There's like a minor trace of oxygen that generally gets in the can.
So if you had a preference, would it be the bottle, the cans?
Oh yeah, any day of the week. Yeah, I mean it's just so much fresher, and they've sort of developed the cans. They used to be just more of aluminium, and the beer and cider and that used to kind of deteriorate the inside of the can over time. So you would get metals and stuff which are not good for the beer. It would, so they've kind of got a bit more of a coating on there, sort of protects everything that goes into the can. It protects it from light, so you see all craft beer or ales essentially have brown bottles, so it kind of protects that light getting through the bottle, whereas lagers, they're kind of more pasteurised than that, and they've got, they're a lot more protected. The lager sort of yeast helps protect it, so they don't really need that dark bottle. But with the ales, having that can and fully protecting it just makes it last. The shelf life is just so much longer.
What was it like the first time you brewed a Shifty Lizard beer? Like that first bottle that you've made?
Shit.
Really?
Kind of like our first podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
and maybe the second and third, but by the fourth...
Yeah, exploding bottles is where it starts. If you don't have an exploding bottle, then have you really brewed beer?
So did you start at home? Is that where it sort of kicked off for Shifty Lizard?
In the lab that I used to call it back in the day, and that sort of then, we sort of was allowed to call it the brewery once I moved everything out there that I was trying to grow. So... It was, so exploding bottles, one of the things is when you got the crown seal cap on a bottle, I actually opened one time and it's like burst off, shot right into my neck, and I had like the engraving of the actual...
Very southern of you.
Yeah.
Is that why you got a tat there to cover
and
it
then
up?
I literally just necked the rest of the bottles.
Okay.
How very hub of you.
That was in year 8.
So what's it like with craft beer? I find now there's a lot of options around South Australia. We're talking specifically, and I think I drink a lot of wine, so I'm using wine as an example here. I think there's a misconception, and also with gin, that people see success and they think it's done overnight, and they're like, oh, we can do this, but they forget the hard work, the commitment, the dedication, the trial and error that goes into it as well. So it's not as easy as going, I want to do this and let's start selling things tomorrow. Is that a misconception out in the market, though, that people think they can just go buy a kit from Kmart and then start being successful?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody thinks they can become a brewer, and they generally get through the first exploding bottles before they're like, nah, I can't really be bothered with it anymore, and so they give it up. I mean, it really just kind of, my interest just grew from, like, how can I control fermentation? How can I sort of get that right bitterness in the actual beer and the desired colour and the desired alcohol and everything in it? So it really interests me. So I just did research and just kind of, YouTube is your best friend when you come into it. There's a lot of craft beer brewing shows and that from America that you sort of watch, and then you kind of just keep going with that. I mean, it's such a craft now, and everyone's sort of trying to pick it up and get involved because it's a way to express yourself. Like a cook, will put out one of their finest dish and they get to see the people enjoy it and the feedback of it, and it's sort of the same. You see your beers all over social media, and you kind of, you rock up to a restaurant and you see people just sitting there sort of sipping your beers, and you're like, well, that's what I sort of created there, and it's pretty humbling, yeah.
What's the beer that speaks to you the most then? What's the one beer that says this is Shifty Lizard?
The one
beer defines you and your vibe.
I suppose the English IPA. Mainly because I spend so much time over in England and enjoying those flavours and drinking the traditional ales, the warmer sort of ales that they drink there. So I sort of developed this recipe to try and get that bitterness and try and get that malty depth to it, and just get that balanced flavour.
I was going to ask, the warm beer thing is real.
Yeah, 100%.
Like they purposely drink beer warm.
Yep.
And would you now back here in
but then they
Oz?
also have Foster's Super Chilled on tap, so I don't really get what they're... We got rid of that because we thought it was piss. So
if we want to try the English IPA, is that what you said? Should we drink that warm?
Sorry?
Should we drink it warm?
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, so people, when they come in here, even our stouts, so they'll buy a pint of stout and they'll buy sort of one of our other drinks, and they'll leave the stout there for sort of half an hour while they drink the other one, just to let it warm up, come to sort of just under room temperature, because it sort of pronounces that flavour a little bit more. It's just like, pairing it with food. You eat a spicy dish and you drink an IPA with all that sort of hop flavour in there, it makes it sort of spicier and it brings out all those sort of flavours. So we do a lot of beer degustations where, we'll have 6-course meals and we'll pair one of our beers with each of the meals, and then you'll sort of go through it and you can see what the actual what flavours you're getting out of the mill based on
right.
what the beer's doing to your palate. So.
I'm looking at you, and right behind you is a sign that says half price wings. So you're selling me.
Just relax, Leslie. Far out.
Come on the right day.
We were lucky enough to try some of the Shifty Lizard beers. You gave us a couple of different sorts, and we drank them that one famous night in the Ozcast studios.
Well, we drank 2 and Andy drank the rest.
That's right, yeah.
They were fantastic. I'm just saying, guys, they were fantastic, and I stick by it.
This is probably the most naive question you'll ever have to answer, but when it comes to new flavours, is that calculated, or do you just throw some shit in there and just see what it tastes like and it works, and if not, you don't try that again?
It's calculated now. I think my hub days I would just throw the shit in there and see how it came out, but it's certainly refined now. You know, I when it comes to the actual style, I do some investigation. I mean, they do a lot of judging, so you can get your beer guides there, which sort of tells you what sort of mouthfeel you're meant to be getting, the aroma. So, you know, when we dry hop the beer, so when I explain to you guys out there about the process, when it's in the fermenter towards the end, after the yeast has done a lot of its job, you can dry hop it. So that's adding all that hops in there at the end, which is during the sort of the cold brew of it, and where it's like once the hops sort of hit it, it brings out more aroma. You get a lot more mouthfeel rather than less bitterness. So, you know, when you do it, you're sort of like, how much dry hop am I going to do on it? At what point during that 60-minute boil am I going to put these hops in there? So, yeah, you know, it's just sort of done properly.
So what you're saying is it's not just a Carlton Dry with a 2 litre of Golden Circle dumped in it.
Yeah. But that would be fantastic, I'm sure.
I've got 2 controversial questions.
Yes.
Because we're friends, and I would say family. Maybe 3 controversial questions. So the first one, there's this thing going around South Australia, right, when we talk about some of the places that brew beer. So I'm going to use the example of Big Shed. I'm going to use the example of Pirate Life.
Yep.
So that's my neck of the woods, right? As soon as people start talking about Big Shed, everyone goes, yeah, it's local, awesome, well done. As soon as people start talking about Pirate Life, they go, oh, you sold out, whatever. I'm kind of in the mind of if a big corporation wants to purchase and invest in your brewery, but you get some sort of creative control, that's a great business decision. Like, that should be the goal, shouldn't it? Instead of you don't sell out, you're just doing kind of like what business is designed for. What are your thoughts on it?
Again, yeah, very controversial. I mean, I think you speak to the really loyal craft beer drinkers that are drinking sort of like, you know, SA beers only, would sort of say that they were full sellouts, and I think you know, they were bought by fairly sizable business which isn't actually Australian owned. You know, this then goes over, and so the money that we're putting into their pockets is going into sort of an international company. So that's where I think people get their backs up about it, because, you know, when you sell out, I mean, you've got places like Vale Brewery, and we were brewing with them for a bit, and then they got sold out to Bigford's, but Bigford's is still South Australia. You know, so people don't really see that as a major sellout. That, you know, they've done the wrong thing. Whereas with Pirate Life, you know, but they had a great business plan. Like they right from the start, I could guarantee you know, MC and Red and Jack and that went in there going, let's just build this business massively in the first 3 years, and then once they come knocking on our door, we'll see how much we can sort of get for it, because they sort of took on major investments, so their sharehold was actually fairly small. And this is sort of everything I've heard. It's probably a little bit of speculation as well, but they sort of went in there going, well, let's get as much investment, let's build this to a ridiculous size, and then let's see how much we can sort of get for it, and then turn it over within 3 years, which is, I think, was a massively great effort. So, you know, I kind of commend them for it. Me personally, what I want to sort of do is I want to be able to have a legacy. I sort of want to be able to pass this brewery on to my family and go through generations, a little bit like Cooper's, which is sort of ironic as well, because my fiance is part of the Cooper's family.
Glenn Cooper is your fiance.
Yeah. As soon as
A beautiful couple.
Sorry.
Beautiful wife,
Sorry. I actually compare you in a music sense. You're very much a Chance the Rapper that
thank you.
had the opportunity
to throw down a beat as well.
That is LeBron James, so that is wrong route.
Wow.
But using that example of a lot of artists go into the music industry with the intention of being signed to a major label straight away. But Chance the Rapper said, no, I'm going to do it my own way. And eventually he's built his fortune through that. I'm going to get through my 2 other controversial questions quickly so the other guys can ask some questions. I'm really nervous about asking this. The lizard?
Which one?
The dead one.
Oh, no.
What dead lizard?
Yeah.
What are you
Too
talking
soon.
about?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the one that passed, I think, is probably the best term.
Is that the point? Is this brewery named
Step
after
away
a
for a
dead
minute, guys.
lizard?
Oh my God, Rosie.
What did you see under the bar?
Far out.
Do you see the little the area under the bar for a lizard?
The tank there.
Yeah, that's a fake lizard in there.
I
It's a
didn't. I was
fizzard.
looking at the beer. I didn't look down.
Oh, God. Well, it's the first time you haven't looked down.
Damn it!
Sorry, so that was obviously iconic, and well, is it that lizard which features in a lot of the artwork as well, or is this?
Yeah. Well, a lot of them I think have been found online and just kind of photoshopped in, like hugging a beer, which is the chameleon, because I don't even think we're allowed to have them in Australia. But so Aurora was our sort of our resident lizard that we had here, and was a few years on, and sort of off the back of COVID, she sort of got unwell one weekend, which was really unusual, and we sort of put it down that we think it might have been to do with the sanitizer, because you get her out of the tank, and you hold her in your hands, and she sort of likes to sort of lick stuff, and that's how, with her senses, that's
a bit like Rosie,
and all that. Yeah. Exactly.
Is that you are in there right now?
Hey, no, she's dead.
Rosie,
I hope not.
What's
I
down
hope
there?
not.
Rosie, stop! We should have briefed you beforehand. Okay, I'm moving on to the next question. Oh my God, I'm
We may
sorry.
get another lizard.
Okay, so the next question is what I've loved about our correspondence with you guys is that you're not in it to go. We're not in it for the glory or anything like that. You actually want an organic feeling with anything that you do. So we still sit around our podcast and go, we don't know why you guys want anything to do with us because we're such a random podcast and stuff. So thank you for that. But what's actually made you go, no, we want to be involved with you guys?
I don't know either, to be fair.
Good answer.
Great answer.
All I can say, though, is that the Brewski, perfect beer for the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
It's been sensational in Ozcast and in my mouth. Sorry, guys.
I wouldn't mind one under.
Is that a hint to get you another beer? Or?
I mean, it's
What are we
empty.
drinking? Are we all drinking the same thing right now? Did you serve us all the same thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
It is,
So how can people find you if they want to go around? It's not just here that obviously you sell your drinks. I want people to go. How do they find you on social media? How do they get involved?
ShiftyLizard.com, Shifty.lizard.brewery, I think it is, on Instagram. I think we've even got a TikTok thing going on.
Great.
Which, I think
Andy set you up?
Danny's daughter probably runs that, for all I know.
OnlyFans. Yeah. No, not that. No, I'm just saying. Do you guys have any other questions
No,
before?
and down, like I just had spied the outdoor area. I'm guessing on the weekends this is pumping. It looks lovely out there. Yeah.
I think we're going to be working on that as well, actually, soon. So we should have a new kind of.
This is the main
gig
street
garden
of
coming around.
Old Willunga.
Willunga.
This is Willunga.
Rosie,
not
you've
Old
done no
Willunga.
research coming down here.
No, there's
There is
Old
no
Willunga
lizard
and
in
there's
the tank.
Willunga. I didn't look down there, but no, I'm guessing.
What do you mean by that?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know why I turn up. I don't know why I
Can I
talk.
have a
Oh
look
God, why am I
Do you
here?
want to have a look now? Look down now.
Do you know what though? Like after hearing all that from Lee, it's actually hard to believe he went to the hub. It's probably one of the better products to come out of there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, that is the thing. So,
No more beers for Andy.
We're blessed with a beer technician and a petrol forecourt operator.
hey, look,
Yeah.
whatever you want me to be, I will be. Mountain bike rider, whatever. So what was this place when you moved in?
It was a butcher.
Butcher? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Meat and small goods place. So we actually had fridges all out here. So it took about 4 months. So I did most of the renovations and that here.
Wow.
I built the bar. I built all the toilets and everything like that. So it was about a 4 month sort
Rosie
of.
tested the toilet before. She said it was spot on.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bowl was you could eat out of it.
Okay, didn't try that. I mean, I respect you, but I'm going to decline that offer.
It was more of a delivery rather than wanting to eat something. But
It was a long drive, guys.
Oh, we could smell it. All right, Lee, thank you very much for having us, mate. This has been great. So we'll put all the information about Shifty Lizard in the bio and the show notes of this. But, mate, it's actually really good to make our way here and just hang out here. It's, mate, you're having a look around. It's packed here at the moment, which is awesome.
Doing all right. Thank you very much for coming down. Love it.
no worries.
Yes.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.